Greetings ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Library of the Unwritten. I am the Archiver. Back with today's stories. Today's series is the second part of What If Deku was taken in by Overhaul. Before we start, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Now let's get into it. The gates to UA were busy. It was the day of the recommendation exams, so multiple teens all with promising skill were eager to show their best in an attempt to get into UA. Izuku couldn't even imagine what it would look like in a week when the normal entrance exam takes place. Izuku. Riko tapped his shoulder to get the boy to stop vibrating with all of his excitement. She found it adorable, but he should also stay calm and collected. Sorry, Izuku said with no embarrassment. It's fine. I was the same way at my exams. You got into recommendations. I actually got in under my aunt. She had the ability to transform into a lion. So animal transformations happen a lot in your family. Yep. I was the first mythical transformation. That's cool. Izuku nodded to his own statement. She would have liked you. Riko led the pair into the main building of UA, following her friend Hisashi Yamada, the pro-hero present Mick who worked at UA. Right this way everybody. The blonde man announced with his way too loud voice. Do you know what I might be doing today? Izuku asked. Don't you want a surprise? I do, but I am too excited, he said a bit loudly. Love the enthusiasm from the kids this year. Hisashi up front had heard Izuku. No flash photography please. All will be explained in the auditorium. Izuku guessed he could wait until the auditorium to find out. They were only not even a minute away from it anyways. Once everyone had taken a seat, Izuku looked around to see if he recognized any other pro-heroes. He saw Cementus with a teen who had no lips and ash blonde hair. Midnight had brought a teen who had a really mischievous green hair like his own. The third group he saw made him stop, glad he was sitting down, so he wouldn't visibly buckle his knees. He recognized both people because they used to be the biggest abusers of him. It was his real father Hisashi Midoriya, who had brought Katsuki Bakugo as his recommendation. Kai turned when he heard a sound of something in the alley by his lab. It sounded like something was thrown and his instinct set to investigate. Eri, I want you to go into the lobby of the lab and stay there. Tell Miss Tetsui that I am checking something. He nudged Eri towards the entrance. Okay. Eri nodded but was getting curious about what was happening. Kai waited till Eri was inside before he walked into the alley, doing his old habit of putting his mask on, because honestly he still found alleys disgusting, even this one by the lab that was pretty clean. The man followed the sounds of what he thought was something rustling through something. Was it just a rodent or something digging into the trash in the alley? He should still check regardless since his gut said to, and last time his gut led him into an alley he met Izuku. Rounding a slight corner he found the source of the sounds. A teenage girl, no older than Izuku, was actually digging through the giant trash bin next to the lab. She had on a middle school uniform, but it looked ragged and in desperate need of being cleaned, same as the girl. Her blonde hair was filthy and held in messy knots on both sides of her head. Was this girl homeless? Excuse me. Kai cleared his throat. Almost immediately a knife was thrown at him but thankfully missed and went behind him. Back off. The girl had faced Kai and had another knife. She had an unhinged look and yellow cat-like eyes. She was looking at Kai like she hated him. I'll cut you. Kai, momentarily forgetting the fact that he didn't have Overhaul anymore, ignored the threat. Why are you digging through the trash? Because I have to eat, idiot. She replied like she thought Kai was dumb. Where are your parents? Who needs them? She went back to digging through the trash since Kai hadn't moved towards her, and she was hungry. I don't. The former holder of Overhaul took a shot in the dark, hoping he was correct. They didn't like you or your quirk, did they? The girl shot a dirty look at Kai. Mind your own business. The look had obvious pain in it, like Kai had actually hit the target dead on. Stop digging through the trash. Kai didn't get to continue when he got cut off. I don't see your name on this. Finders keepers. It's not your trash either. I have more claim than you. It belongs to my lab, so I have more ownership than you. Kai wasn't even questioning the fact that he was now arguing over the ownership of trash with a knife-wielding homeless teen. Go away. The girl responded with irritation. If you get out of the trash and come out here, I will give you food. Kai figured he could get her to at least explain her situation. The girl actually swapped attitudes extremely fast, beaming at the offer before jumping out of the trash. You got a deal. Izuku was on the verge of a panic attack. Seeing his real father in person for the first time in a decade made him start to stress out. His reaction was to clutch his seat as tightly as possible. Riko saw his panic and immediately out a hand on his to comfort him. She looked around to try and figure out what would send the boy she had never seen stressed out into such a mood. She didn't really see anything that would. Aiza, what's wrong? She used the nickname she gave him while speaking softly. Izuku didn't take his eyes off of the floor. I saw him. Him who? Riko began to look at every single male in the auditorium. My real father. Izuku hoped that man never noticed him at all. As much as he made it a goal to expose that man as a fraud, he was apparently still had trauma to sort through. It also didn't help that Katsuki was there also. The woman had never heard anything from Kai or Izuku over the years about his real father. Only words from Kai early on that Izuku didn't have a pleasant time with his blood father. She felt like that was an understatement for years, but now that she saw Izuku so stressed out she knew it was definitely an understatement. She then saw one hero who actually had a bit of resemblance to Izuku, Spitfire. They both had emerald green hair, and their facial structure was similar. Izuku however had emerald eyes, while Spitfire's were black. Was Spitfire really a father? She wasn't aware of him having a family life. He wasn't a kind person, she knew that much. Wait, did that mean that one of the top 10 heroes in Japan was an actual child abuser? Izuku's panic made it seem that way. He also had a negative viewpoint of his own person before Kai and Riko made him believe in himself. Was Spitfire really the cause of all of that? She couldn't instantly just hate him, but did have to find out if that was who Izuku meant. Aizu, is it spy? Yes, Izuku didn't even want the name to be said. Well, Riko had never felt hate for someone this fast. How could a man mistreat a child like that? Before anything else could happen, the principal of UA, a mouse and bear hybrid-looking animal in a suit named Nezu, spoke from the stage. Hello everybody. The mouse said happily. Thank you for coming to the recommendation exams this year. As usual, we have 3 different parts, the first of which is naturally the written test. Round 2 is actually a unique take this year, but we will get to that after the written test. Each of you have a number on your seat that will say your test number, as well as a packet that we would like filled out before we get into the written test, which is taking place here after we have gathered all of the forms. The pro heroes who have brought a recommended prospect are allowed to be in the seats on the base floor up until we are ready to pass out the tests. When that happens, you all can take to the lounge and wait until round 2 is ready to begin. Izuku pulled out his form, but his hand was still uneasy from knowing just a few rows away his father was there. Aizu, forget him, Riko said softly. He isn't worth it right now. She didn't want Izuku to jeopardize his exam he had worked so hard for. However, she was definitely going to speak to Spitfire herself while Izuku took his test. Izuku shook his head, trying to shake off his worry. How could he let that man get to him so badly? What happened was bad, but Kai and Riko had more than made his life so vastly better than Hisashi had. It would be disrespectful of him to just let that man get to him just by unknowingly being in the same area as him. And so what if Katsuki was the teen Hisashi recommended? If the blonde was still the same as the last time Izuku saw him, the guy was nothing but an arrogant bully. Which makes sense for Hisashi to be the one recommending him then. Izuku got a way better recommendation from Riko, who was a way better hero. Izuku managed to regain his confidence and nodded. Right? Izuku said with his regained confidence. I can do this. Riko was glad Izuku bounced back from his panic. Let's get these forms filled out. Kai planned on sanitizing his entire lab the second he could. No offense to the teen he got out of the trash, who he had learned was named Himiko Toga, but she was filthy. She thankfully wasn't being violent once he gave her his food. He could always get another lunch at the deli down the street, but she was still a little defensive. He had used her name to look up anything, and found a good bit of information. She really was Izuku's age for one. Her parents were actually alive and in a northern part of Hosu, but those were really the only positive parts. Her quirk was called Transform, and required blood to work. She could ingest someone's blood and become a perfect copy of them. That part didn't bother Kai as much as the other part that resulted from her quirk. Some people gain an altered perception of reality because of their quirks, especially if those quirks require something not normal, such as Himiko's blood. There were reports of her having an identity crisis early on, and how she had an obsessive level of wanting to become whoever she admires, but consuming as much of their blood as possible, and not by any good means. She had been sent to quirk reformation by her parents in hope of shutting down her violent and off-putting tendencies she had, but Kai was guessing that obviously didn't work. It didn't because she eventually snapped, and at her middle school graduation just a month prior had snapped and went after a boy her obsessive nature targeted. Kai understood why her school and parents were out off by the girl's nature, because it was off-putting. He just didn't like how multiple times in the articles he kept running across parts where everyone, including her parents, kept referring to the girl as a creepy demon child. It was a mind-altering effect from her quirk, so of course she wouldn't behave normally, and completely forcing her instincts down that were made by the quirk would have of course brought in negative consequences eventually. They honestly mismanaged her in his opinion. Kai would have obviously told her that trying to take someone's blood like that was wrong, but guide her towards a middle ground where she wouldn't attack someone like how she had. Are you going to tell them where I am? Himiko asked, seeing Kai's phone screen through the reflection in his eyes. She knew it was probably only a matter of minutes before she had to end up in a quirk reformation training course again. Why would I? Because I am not normal. She said the word normal with spite. What even is normal? Kai asked. Wah. The blonde was not expecting that. She was expecting him to laugh or something and say she obviously wasn't normal. Normal is defined as conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected pattern. Kai gave an answer to his own question. Does this situation feel normal to you? No. It didn't, because this guy actually offered her food and let her sit in what was a really high-tech looking lab. That always, even after she threatened him with knives while in a dumpster. It doesn't to me either. Does everything have to be normal? According to society, yes. According to society doesn't mean anything to me. Kai meant that. Society as it was pissed him off sometimes, especially when it came to how Izuku didn't matter as much in it until he got Overhaul. Well, you shouldn't be what could be described as a violent sociopath. You don't have to by any means be normal. Normal isn't interesting. So you aren't going to tell my parents or the police? No? Why? I think you can redeem yourself in a way you want to. Why should I redeem myself? She got angry. It's not my fault I am not normal. Kai was glad Eri was still with Tetsu. He didn't want her in here in case Himiko snaps, which she looked close to doing. It isn't your fault. However, there are ways to express your quirk and instincts without being homeless and violent towards every person you see. I think that if you wanted to, then you could make it down that path. Himiko was silent for a minute. She hasn't felt actually support, like genuine support and not fake support, in a while. What is this path? I don't know, Kai said honestly. Himiko felt a tick mark grow on her head. How can you be so sure I can do anything then? I haven't been wrong before. That just sounds cocky. It happens when you are always right. How do you know you are right this time then? Eventually you'll be wrong. Do you want me to be wrong? Himiko looked confused. She guessed part of her wanted him to be wrong, but she also wanted him to be right. I don't know. You can stay here until you know. I have a research project to work on today. Kai did have something very important to work on. Ever since he found out 4 weeks prior that Riko couldn't have kids, he honestly spent a good portion of his time trying to make it a possibility for her. He can let Himiko reflect on her thoughts while he worked. Himiko slumped down against the wall and stayed silent, trying to clear her thoughts. Eri can come in now. Kai said into the intercom that connected most of the lab. He felt that Himiko wouldn't harm Eri and wanted to make sure Eri was okay. The 6-year-old was guided in by Tetsu, who gave a glance to Himiko before leaving. Hi Dad. Eri had ran up to Kai immediately, happy to see him. Miss Tetsui showed me a picture of her dog. She said it was a husky. Kai smiled. Glad you enjoyed yourself. Eri saw the red binder in Kai's hands, knowing that the binders were things that Kai and Izuku both use for anything, and it meant they were studying. What is this one? It's a surprise for Riko. He actually didn't want to tell her about it until he found a cure for her disease. Mom is getting a surprise. A big one. We have to keep it a secret though, okay? Eri nodded in complete understanding. Mom is going to be so surprised. She will be for sure. Did you bring your book? He was surprised at how much Eri loved to read. It wasn't really the reading part, but she was reading already at a high school level, and he hadn't even found a good school for her yet. Honestly, he didn't know how every kid he basically adopted was way too smart. Yay. Eri grabbed her Sherlock Holmes book. The girl loved mysteries a lot. Why don't you read that while I work on Riko's surprise? Yay. Eri nodded eagerly. She immediately got to opening her book. Kai had a smile as he looked over to Himiko, who had her head in her knees as soon as he looked over. Himiko had watched how Eri acted with Eri and got jealous. Her dad wasn't ever that genuine with her. Are you still thinking, Himiko? Kai asked and got a groaning sound in return. Okay. He sent open the binder and got to work. Kai didn't want to press Riko when she revealed that she couldn't have kids, just admitting it was rough for her. So he used his old tricks of hacking that he got as a Yakuza and got her medical file. She had a quirk-related birth defect that makes her unable to even be able to make the process of making egg cells, or even have proper lining in her uterus. It wasn't hospitable at all in her to have a kid, and current medicine wasn't at a level to change that. However, Kai, and this was only partly his arrogance speaking, knew he was far ahead of current medicine, and began to work on finding a way to make her be able to at least produce egg cells. He didn't have a normal way of testing, being actually having her there since this was a secret, so he had to use his computer and a program to run simulations to see what could work. The research actually made him learn a whole lot more about how the female body works. He didn't want her to know yet because he didn't want her to get her hopes up while waiting for this. She could easily stress herself over it. Kai at one point figured that Izuku could just use Overhaul to basically rewrite Rico without the birth defect. However, as much as Izuku was a talent at using Overhaul, he wasn't ready to rewrite a person like that, and Kai didn't want to bring this up in the last bit of time, before Izuku took the exams for UA, that would throw Izuku off. If only Kai still had Overhaul. He had much more practice with the quirk. Wait. Damn, why didn't Kai think of Overhaul like that before? If Izuku could fuse with Kai, there was a possibility that Kai could take control, and then have control of Overhaul for just a minute to rewrite Rico himself. Fuck. Kai put his head against his desk. He was glad Eri didn't hear that because she was too innocent for that language, but damn, was Kai really annoyed with himself. Why had he not considered that Izuku's better Overhaul be able of letting Kai control the fusion for a bit, as long as Izuku allowed it? Granted, this was a pure hypothetical situation hinging on if the second person in a fusion could control the fusion body, but how has he never even thought about it before? If this worked, then Rico would lose her birth defect later that day when Izuku and her returned from the exams. Kai closed the binder because honestly he felt like he wouldn't need it because his gut told him that this would work. Rico entered the lounge where some of the heroes were waiting while their students were taking their tests. Izuku was in a definite good mood when she left, and that part made her happy. However, she still wanted to trade words with Spitfire. There were 4 rooms the heroes could wait in, and she made sure she went to the one with Spitfire in it. The man didn't exactly give off a good energy. His facial expression made it seem like he was irritated by everything around him. There weren't that many other people in this lounge, but she still wanted privacy to talk. However, before she spoke to Spitfire, she should check with Kai on this whole subject. Calling him would not be wise, so she sent a text. She would start with a question she actually had growing. Rico, what did Izuku's father do to him? Not even a minute later, Kai responded. Kai, I can list it off, but you might not like it. Kai, why is this being asked exactly? Rico, he is at the exams right now. It is Spitfire, right? That bastard Spitfire was at the exams. Kai felt so many different types of panic. Did Spitfire recognize Izuku? Was he going to try to mess with Izuku? That bastard better not lay a finger on Izuku or nothing in the known universe would stop Kai from making that man regret it. Kai, he is. Is Izuku okay? Rico, he panicked for a bit. What happened? Kai, promise me you won't do anything to Spitfire. Rico, from what it sounds like something bad happened. I don't know if I can make that promise. Kai, Rico, please make that promise. As much as I know you won't want to keep it, you have to make it. Rico, why can't I do anything? Kai, because it can have consequences for Izuku. Spitfire doesn't even know Izuku is alive right now. Rico had to reread that last part a few times for it to truly sink in. How did Spitfire not know his son was even alive? She had to know now because her thoughts would probably make it worse than it really was. Rico, tell me everything, please. I promise I won't do anything. Kai, okay. And then Rico got a string of texts from Kai that honestly made her sick to her stomach. Kai told her everything about Izuku's past, from how he was mistreated by Spitfire for being born quirkless in ways like not even providing proper food to actual abuse. Cal even told her how Kai had actually met Izuku in an alley after Izuku was beaten half to death. She always thought Izuku got adopted the normal way, but this was just she thanked the Lord that Kai was there to save Izuku. She now understood way more about why Kai was so defensive of Izuku's potential and his worth. She gained way more respect for Kai and so much hate for Spitfire. How could someone just consciously do any of that to a child? Especially a child who was younger than 5. A child. It wasn't a wonder why Izuku panicked earlier, and she actually had to fight the growing urge to attack Spitfire herself. It felt wrong that he could just sit there in the lounge like he hadn't done something that he should be put away for life because of. What was worse was that he was a hero. One of the people that were supposed to be pillars of the community, upholding justice and peace and protecting those who can't protect themselves. But Yuri spat on all of that, and did horrible things to Izuku for an effect of his birth that was out of the poor child's control. Rico lost some of her faith in the hero system right there. Spitfire was the number 5 hero in Japan, someone so high up there in a list of strong individuals, but should Spitfire was the number 5 hero in Japan, someone so high up there on a list of strong individuals that should be protecting people, it made her worried thinking that there were others who were just like him, that were also hiding their horrible actions behind their title of hero. She finally stopped to collect herself when she actually felt the table begin to crack under the pressure she was using. She took a breath and looked back at her phone when Kai sent one more text. Kai, I know how you feel. It took a lot of willpower for me to not use my quirk on him. I didn't because Izuku needed me. Rico, He can't just be here like he isn't monster. Kai. I'll agree with you, but Izuku has a goal to take down his father. It might take longer than originally thought if Izuku isn't ready to face that man. Urko. It still doesn't feel right that he gets to just be here like he isn't a monster. She had no other way to describe how she now viewed Spitfire. Kai. I wouldn't like it either. Urko. He doesn't know Izuku is alive. So my going over there would make that man know Izuku is in fact alive and here at the exams. Kai. Possibly. And I would assume he would do something since Izuku has a quirk now. Urko sighed. She didn't like this at all. She knew Kai was right, and the last thing she would want to do was make a bad situation worse. Urko. If he tries anything I won't promise to be nice. Kai. If he tries anything I will go after him as well. Urko looked up from her phone to the man a few tables away. She couldn't talk to him now, she didn't want him to try anything with Izuku before Izuku could handle it. A voice, Principal Nezu's to be exact, came over the speakers. Hello everyone. The written test is now over, and we will be meeting outside of door 4 before part 2. Urko got up and left the room at a decent pace, not wanting to be near Spitfire any longer than she had to. As she found Izuku she knew she would calm down enough, so that was her goal at the moment. I think I am done thinking. Himiko spoke for the first time in a bit, still sitting against the farthest wall from Kai. Kai turned his chair to face her, closing his binder on the corrosive metal court disease. What do you think? I want that. She pointed at Kai and Eri. I want a genuine bond with my father. Do you know how you will get it? No. I just want my parents to actually love me despite me being a demon child. Eri's real mother thinks she's a curse. Kai did feel bad he was saying this right in front of Eri, but it was what he felt that Himiko needed to hear. And her real father is dead. What? The blonde teen got confused. So Kai wasn't Eri's real father. So then why did they have a strong bond? Why was she didn't know how to ask her question? If you want a real bond you shouldn't go to the people who won't give it. He doubted her actual parents would give her that bond she desired. Find someone who would genuinely want to give you that bond because they want to have that bond with you. If she was a curse, then why did you take her in? Because her mother was wrong. Kai stated. An accident from a quirk does not define Eri, and a quirk-related altercation to you shouldn't define you. But I'm not normal. So? My son was quirkless for the first 10 years of his life. He decided to move past that barrier and push to get past everyone labeling him as worthless, because he and I knew he was anything but worthless. Being normal by what a general group of people think is normal is overrated. If everyone was too preoccupied with what others thought of them all the time, then nothing worthwhile would happen. How is he no longer quirkless? Himiko got confused by Kai's wording. I gave him my entire quirk. What? I removed my quirk from myself and gave it to him. Why? I felt that he deserved it more. Himiko went silent again. This was all a bit much to her. Her father never did anything nearly as nice, even before he started to call her a demon child. It was weird to see this guy here who gave up his entire quirk to a kid like her. Where can I find a bond like that? I have a spare room at my house if you want a home while you look for a bond. Himiko looked up at Kai in shock. Did he just offer her a place to live? With him and his kids? Why would he? Did he suddenly just forget everything he knew about her being a demon child? But I may. No, you aren't. I'm not normal. Neither am I, neither is Eri, and neither is Izuku. If we all aren't normal, then together I think we would be normal. Kai hoped she would take his offer because she seemed like she really needed it. Himiko began to tear up. Why was he being so nice? She was supposed to be the creepy demon child, but she didn't feel like that when he was being so damn nice to her. Can I really stay with you? I'd be glad if you did. Why are you being so nice to a kid you found in an alley? Himiko asked. I used to be that kid in an alley. I figured you would like me to do what my father did for me. I can show you your new home after my shift ends in a few hours if you like. Himiko nodded slowly. She understood why Kai was being nice. They were both lost alley kids. So to him, she really was normal. Maybe she already found a genuine bond. Izuku noticed Riko seemed a bit tense when they saw each other again. His test felt really easy, so it left his mind completely. Are you okay? Izuku asked as they began to go to where Nezu was walking in front of buses. Riko's response was to hug Izuku really tightly once he was within reach. It bothered her so much that this sweet boy was abused by his real father in such horrible ways. Mom? Izuku asked in slight confusion. You're a good kid. Riko didn't let go of the hug for a few more seconds after speaking. Izuku was still confused before he connected the dots. She must have asked Dad about his panic at seeing his real father. Did Dad tell you? Yes. She nodded. I'm going to make sure he doesn't get near you ever again. She would definitely use her quirk to attack Spitfire if he went near Izuku. Izuku gained a small smile at her protectiveness. You're the best, Mom. It comes from having a good son. Nezu interrupted the moment unknowingly by starting the announcements about the second part of the test. Hello again, everybody. The mouse had a positive energy. The second round will take place in multiple sections of our simulated city, with the adults watching from viewing rooms, so you can see your students' progress. Now I will explain what the students will be doing. You will all be split by your numbers onto the buses that will take you to your zones, while on the way there you will be partnered up by the proctor of your zone into groups of 2. The goal is simple. He held up a gold-painted box. Both members of your team must put a hand inside of this locked box which is hidden in the zone. First team to have both team members put their hands in the box wins, and will go to the third and final part of this exam. There are 8 zones, so 8 teams will be making it to the third round. I would explain more, but the proctors all have agreed to explain the rules a bit more. Nezu stepped off of the platform he was using. The red buses are for the adults, and the blue buses are for students. The animal principal began to direct numbers to buses. Izuku ended up on a bus heading to the 7th zone. His proctor was the teacher and pro-hero Ectoplasm, who had guided the kids to seat in the double-seated bus. Ectoplasm didn't start talking until the bus began to move. Okay students, I am going to start off by explaining how I am choosing your teams. Honestly, just look to whoever you are seated next to. Izuku looked at the kid next to him, who was a silent teen with red and white hair that was split down the middle. He also had what looked like a burn scar surrounding his left eye. The kid had an apathetically look but did at least acknowledge Izuku. You can eliminate the other teams by putting them into a spot where they can't fight back. Well, I do want you all to behave like this isn't just a test, but an actual real situation. I don't however want you to injure each other too badly. I will be watching, and if I see it as a clear loss on one side I will say so through the speakers. I will try to give you kids the benefit of the doubt, but will make calls if I think they should be made for your safety. There is a time limit of 1 hour for this test, and I will guide each team to a separate entrance to the zone with my clones. Do not enter the zone until I announce that the match has started. He finished saying the rules. Any questions? So just to make sure. A pink-haired guy said with a raised hand. Both members of a team have to place a hand in the box. Correct. The box is locked but can be unlocked in one of 2 ways. He pressed a button in the screen at the front of the bus, showed a gold key that looked bigger than Izuku's hand. This key that is hidden in the central building of the zone, it's the one with the large garden around it, or a combination that is also hidden pretty much in every building, but isn't clear on if it is the correct combination or not. Either one will get the box open. The girl covered in black scales raised her hand. Do we have to get the box if every other team gets eliminated? The proctor shook his head. You can eliminate all of the other teams and it will count as passing this trial. The box just ends the trial early, and even if the team that doesn't eliminate anyone opens the box, but instead sneaks around for it puts their hands in the box, they win. Izuku raised his hand now. What if one person gets eliminated on a team? Do we both get eliminated or can that one person still go on and get the box? Ectoplasm looked at Izuku and felt like that plague mask he had was familiar, but he shook that for a minute. Both of you will not be eliminated as a whole when one person is eliminated, and you can still win as one person if you eliminate the other teams or get the box. If your teammate is eliminated and you get your hand in that box, your team wins with that one hand. If our quirks are destructive, do we have to show restraint? A girl who had obsidian-looking skin asked. Ectoplasm thought for a second. Nezu did give all of the proctors permission to let this be on their call. Treat it like this is an evacuated city that is about to be bombed, and that box has a code to stop that bombing. So just a little. A guy with a mohawk of fire asked. Enough that you guys don't topple whole buildings or kill each other. Ectoplasm would have clones on standby of course if the kids got carried away, but he did want these kids to have the chance to go all out. It was a recommendation exams after all, only 4 students of the hundreds there would pass, so this was something they would want to give their all to. Alright. The obsidian girl got pumped up. The bus stopped and Ectoplasm made clones that filtered off of the vehicle. Everyone follow a clone, one team to a clone, and I will give the okay when the trial starts. Izuku was excited to do this now. He was eagerly following the Ectoplasm clone while his partner followed quietly. The clone of the proctor looked at Izuku and realized how he recognized the mask. Are you related to a Dr. Chisaki? Izuku nodded. He's my dad. He is a great doctor. 6 years ago when I lost my legs he used that quirk of his to repair them with a touch. Your father is a miracle worker. Izuku smiled at that, proud of his dad. I actually have that quirk too. You do? Ectoplasm's clone was surprised. It was a powerful quirk, so he had no doubt that Izuku would now be one of the 4 recommended students who passed. I bet your father is proud of you. He definitely is. Riko was glad that Spitfire and his student were not in Izuku's zone, so she wouldn't have to be in the same viewing room as him. It really bothered her to her core that one of the top 5 heroes in Japan was that twisted. She couldn't just shake that from her head. It made her worried that other people were abusing the system to do anything bad that they wanted to do. "Hello, Rikik." The gruff and deep voice got her attention. Riko turned to see Endeavor, the number 2 hero in Japan, and the strongest fire quirk using hero in the world. Why did he want to speak to her? How did she not even notice he was here at all? "Hello, Endeavor." She gave her kind smile. "It seems our two have been partnered up." Endeavor indicated to a screen where Izuku and Endeavor's son could be seen. The audio wasn't on yet, but the two were seen at entrance 17 to Zone 7. "Oh? I didn't know you had a son here this year." Riko didn't like that look Endeavor's son had, it was too negative. "He isn't much for being public," the flame hero stated. "Your student seems enthusiastic." The man was watching as Izuku was looking around excitedly. "He has been working hard for this." Riko couldn't help but smile from Izuku's mood. "I think they will be a good team." Endeavor nodded, but wondered why that boy of Riko's mask looked so familiar, like something he hasn't seen in years. Izuku had about 12 different plans already made for how they could do this. He wasn't just bouncing in his feet excitedly. He was ready to go. However, he should still talk to his teammate because teamwork makes the dream work. "Hi, I'm Izuku Chisaki." The masked teen held out his hand to the dual hair-colored teen next to him. The teen gave Izuku's hand a look before slowly shaking it. As much as he thought he didn't need this Izuku, he should still make sure the masked kid wasn't complete dead weight. "Shoto Todoroki." Todoroki. Izuku suddenly remembered a college student he and Kai met one time during a tour of the lab. "Do you have an older brother named Natsu?" Shoto gained a curious look. "How do you know my brother?" "He was at my dad's lab a few weeks ago." "Why?" Shoto hadn't seen his brother in a few years. He had interest in going to work at the lab as an intern. "What is this lab?" "Oh, it's the Cherry Waters lab." "Chen. Do you want to discuss our plan for the match?" Shoto wanted to shrug him off as a habit, but Izuku actually was interesting to him. "What is your quirk?" It would be easier to make any plan with quirk knowledge. "Oh, I can touch anything and manipulate its form. I can also touch people and heal them instantly." Damn, that was a powerful quirk, Shoto had to admit. This guy wasn't even arrogant about such a power. He was proud, sure, but it wasn't an arrogant pride. "What's yours, Todoroki?" "I can create ice from the right side of my body." Shoto did not plan on using his left side, so what was the point of mentioning it? Izuku looked at the teen. It would be weird if Shoto could only use just his right side in his quirk. Izuku looked at Shoto's hair and saw that it was split down the middle, and his eyes were different colors. He had white hair on his eyes side, so was the red hair on his left for a different element. Like fire. "Do you control fire with your left?" Izuku asked. Shoto actually got surprised again. How is this guy that quick to figure out Shoto's quirk? "I can, but I won't." Izuku was going to ask why, but Shoto had a look when he mentioned the fire that said enough. Something made Shoto not like his fire. "Okay, man. Either way, we got this." "You don't care about my not using his side." "His side?" Izuku got confused. "My father's." Shoto wasn't going to go farther into it than that. Izuku thought that Shoto maybe had a bad father too, so he was avoiding that side out of spite. He understood that but still said something about it. "That's your thing, Todoroki. Dads can suck. But don't let his terribleness keep you down." "I thought you liked your father." At least it sounded like Izuku liked his father. "I'm adopted." Izuku explained, maybe he could help Shoto real fast with his own issues. "My original dad was bad, but I think it is best if I move past it. Of course I won't forgive him, but I can't let him hold me back." Shoto looked at the ground. Why was he even talking about this with a kid he would only know for all of the next hour or two? Izuku had a point though, he supposed. "Let's focus on this test for now though." Izuku stretched his hands. Then shoving it to her dad's. Shoto actually gained a small smile. He kind of liked the plague mask wearing Izuku. The emerald-haired teen gave off a pleasant energy. Why not both at the same time? Even better. Izuku grinned under his mask. "The trial begins now." Ectoplasm's voice came over the speakers. "What should we do? Elimination or box?" The emerald and gold-eyed teen turned to his teammate. Shoto though for a second. "Box. You can manipulate anything you touch, correct?" "I can." "Let's go get the key to the box." Shoto pointed to the central building. "And you can manipulate it to be unusable on the box. Right?" Izuku nodded. "It doesn't even matter about the combination or key because I can open it by touching it." The two made their way to the central building. Endeavor was actually surprised. The audio started after Ectoplasm started the trial, so he only heard their plan. It was smart and he was now curious about that boy who can manipulate anything he touches. It also surprised him that Shoto was being cooperative with someone. The boy was too rebellious against him and everything in existence, but apparently not that kid with the plague mask. Eriko was grinning because she loved the plan and how talking to Izuku for all of 4 minutes actually made that Todoroki boy lose his scowl. Izuku did have that effect on some people. She actually had a thought that he had a quirk that wasn't a real quirk where he just was a very positive influence on people. Izuku stuck his arm in front of Shoto to stop the teen. They both could hear the sounds of fighting around the corner. How do we feel about combat? How many? Izuku peeked around the corner. From what I see 3 different people fighting, but none of them look to be teammates. So 6 at the least. I could manipulate the ground to put domes over each of them as a way to eliminate them. They might break out, Shoto said after they both heard a blast from the fight. Right. I could make it dense enough that they can't do that. From this far. I have some practice. Go for it. Shoto actually wanted to see this quirk of Izuku's in action. Got it. Izuku turned the corner to be able to see everyone properly. He saw the pink-haired guy, the girl made of obsidian, and a guy with water all fighting. He needed them all to stop for a second, so he shouted, "Hey." All 3 got confused looks and stopped to face the emerald-haired teen in confusion. Izuku immediately grabbed the ground, and everyone watched as the ground shook before it made domes over the 3 people. He kept his hands on the ground in case anyone else tried anything. Participants 73, 79 and 80 are eliminated. Ectoplasm spoke through the speakers. Release them please 78. Izuku nodded and made the domes open. The 3 kids looked confused. What is your quirk? The pink-haired guy asked. Manipulation of anything I touch. Izuku answered. Dope. The guy with actual water for hair nodded. My teammate will kick your ass. The obsidian girl stated. Let's go. Shoto was impressed. Izuku didn't even need to get near people to fight them. Got it. Izuku walked with Shoto. You got the next one. I do. The dual-haired teen nodded. We should break the key as soon as possible. If it is in the central building, more than likely it isn't somewhere hard to find. I don't even think the box is hidden too well, just enough out of the way that it takes a second to find it. I actually expect it to be on a roof, last place to look if you go through a building. Izuku got an idea. What if it is? The buildings in our area are at least 10 floors as a minimum. I wager they expect us to search all of this in 1 hour. A roof would be a good place to leave it since while you could see from one roof to another, that still makes it take a while to go up and down buildings. That gives flying quirks an advantage. But those flyers might be too busy flying to go get the key. Someone else could get the key or combination. We have an extra advantage then, Shoto said. We can go to the rooftops now and not need to go up and down buildings. We also don't need the combinations or key. Can you use your ice to move through the air? I can. Cool. Let's go up this one first. Izuku smacked the side of the building, and the bricks came apart to make a platform for Izuku to step on. Wanna join me on this? I would like to save my ice. Shoto nodded as he got on. This is pretty fun, but you might want to hold something. Izuku stated as he kept one hand on the side of the building and one on their platform. The platform began to move up the side of the building at a decently fast pace. They reached the rooftop not even 20 seconds later. That was something, Shoto said as Ha stepped onto the actual roof. Dad says it is a good way to travel. Does your adoptive father have the same quirk as you? Shoto got confused. He used to. He got a sickness so he doesn't have it, but I got it by complete chance. Izuku was told by Kai that they can't really broadcast how they developed a way to transfer quirks, because that can easily be abused and make one massive supervillain. That's lucky, Shoto stated. The odds of 2 completely random people getting the same quirk had to be astronomically small. Sure was. Izuku looked around the buildings surrounding them. I don't see it. There? Shoto pointed to a building with large glass windows. Second floor from the top, corner room on the right. Izuku looked where he was pointing and saw the gold box gleaming from the sun. It was sitting on a table. Nice eye. Let's both use our quirks to get to it as fast as possible. Race you, Izuku offered. Shoto didn't know why, but he nodded. Let's go. Izuku started their race once they both got to the edge of the roof. Shoto moved in a wave of ice made from his right foot, and Izuku manipulated the roof into a bridge to the building, pushing forward with him on the edge of his bridge. The two admittedly got into how nice it felt to move like that, and both, despite being smart enough to get into the recommendation exams, forgot that glass was something that can hurt when you impact with it at a high speed. They were too busy racing to consider their point B drove them through windows. Both of them crashing through the glass and into the conference room with the gold box. Ah, that hurts. Izuku groaned because he landed on some glass. That was reckless. Shoto felt like an idiot. He couldn't even think of what his father was going to lecture him on first because of this. Riko knew she shouldn't have, but what just happened, bro? Her pseudo-son was funny, so she actually snorted in laughter. She also knew he wasn't going to be hurt for long, since he could easily tap himself with a finger to manipulate himself into perfect condition. Endeavor, however, didn't find it funny, wondering why his son was making a fool of himself. It's no issue. Izuku closed on of his hands, making his fingers touch his palms and activating Overhaul. The cuts disappearing from him and the glass falling off. Here. He did the same to Shoto. The ice user was not even surprised that Izuku could just do that. It was useful for sure also, especially with them both somehow being completely reckless. Now let's open this thing. Izuku went to the golden box and put his hands on it, making the box open with his quirk. This was too easy. Shoto remarked as they both touched the inside of the empty container. The team has opened the box. The trial is over for Zone 7. Ectoplasm was impressed. That was actually a new record for the trial. Will participants Chisaki and Todoroki please move to entrance 1 for instructions? It's weird because normally when someone says something was too easy it gets hard. Izuku added as he made the box close. Yes, but it can't anymore since we passed. True. Izuku nodded. Wanna race to entrance 1? Our last race resulted in us both recklessly going through a window. Is it a no? No? No to the race or no to the question? I'm starting now. Shoto jumped out the window and slid on his ice to entrance 1. Hey! Izuku shouted as he used Overhaul to catch up to Shoto, who had a smirk. At entrance 1 both heroes were already there, the viewing room being right next to it. Good job, Izu. Riko didn't care about what the others thought and have Izuku a big hug. She was too proud of him breaking a record. Don't go through a window like that again though. But it was fun. Izuku didn't think it was fun as much as it was funny that he was so smart but forgot about windows and stopping before you go through them face first. Hello. Nezu was on Ectoplasm's shoulder. It's actually surprising that you both passed this quick. It's a record and you both get to go to the third part before the other 7 teams. Neat. What is it? A small tournament. Nezu held up a board that showed 16 participants, all of the spots from the second part of the exams. There will only be 2 rounds. The first round will take everyone from 16 to 8, and the second round will take it down to the 4 students who will be the recommended students this year. Izuku noticed how the board was split. Our first match is against each other. It is. Nezu nodded. At Gym Gamma. Shoto and Izuku looked at each other. As much as they both wanted to pass, they had quickly taken a liking to each other. The window mishap definitely helped. Now they would have to eliminate each other. Endeavor actually thought his son might lose, unless he actually used his fire and stopped his ridiculous rebellious phase. The 2 teens were silent up to Gym Gamma, both were too busy thinking about how they had to fight each other. Even if they had just met not even an hour prior, it was still something they didn't like. However, they still had to do it, and were now facing each other in a ring at Gym Gamma, made by cementus to be elevated just off of the ground. The rules are simple. Ectoplasm spoke from his side. Step a foot off of the platform, you lose. If it becomes one-sided, I will call it. You can knock each other out, but I don't recommend it. Don't try to kill each other. Right? Both guys nodded. All or nothing? Izuku asked, hoping Shoto would know he meant their quirks. Izuku would want to fight someone at their best, and Shoto not using half of his quirk would not be his best. Izuku wanted to win the exams, but he also wanted to have respect for Shoto's skills. If Shoto didn't want to give it his all, then Izuku wouldn't give his. He would use Overhaul at a level equal to Shoto. Izuku wanted Shoto to use his best potential. Izuku really wanted everyone to do that because it took him years to build up his confidence to use his, and it would be wrong of someone to not give their all in what they do. Shoto looked at Izuku, the teen who had actually gotten something out of Shoto somehow in the past hour. He saw that determination Izuku had, the drive to give it his all. Shoto knew he should respect that and give his all as well. Shoto, use your flames. Endeavor said like it was an order from the side. Your ice isn't enough. Something went down in Shoto's mind, hating hearing his father say that. Couldn't the bastard just leave him out of his delusional goal? Izuku saw that almost completely hidden look of pain on Shoto, and took a breath. He already made up his mind right there immediately about what was going to happen in the match. Shoto was going to win with his ice and shove it to Endeavor. Izuku was going to throw the match. Kai opened the door to the house and let Eri enter. He turned to Himiko before she could enter. It is the door on the right if you turn left up the stairs. He told her where the empty room was. Thank you. She suddenly felt aware of how filthy she was. This house was really clean and she was dumpster diving a few hours ago. Kai knew what she was thinking. There are spare clothes and you can use the shower. Later we can get you more clothes. How will I pay you back? Don't have to. But it's fine. I am okay with it. Your HMMPH. Himiko huffed because she didn't know how to make him change his mind. I get that a lot. Kai remembered Izuku trying the same thing. Speaking of which, he wondered how Izuku was doing in his exams. Hopefully a lot better since Kai found out Spitfire was there. Himiko loved her room. It had only a bed and a dresser at that moment, but it was hers. And Kai didn't mind that she was admittedly unhinged. She made a promise to not screw this up and make sure she has as many genuine bonds as possible. Izuku didn't like how he set his mind on it. He worked hard to get here, and he is just willingly deciding to throw that all away. He could always take the regular entrance exam the following weekend. This decision was all really based on Shoto's look when his father spoke. The look of someone who wanted to prove something wrong. He had to show Endeavor that he doesn't need that fire, and that Endeavor wasn't in charge of Shoto like that. Of course Izuku wouldn't just up and say I quit. No, he had to play this off as Shoto beating him with the ice, and make it realistic. Of course this was all harder with Izuku already showing a simple touch heals him completely. This made it hard for him to just let some hits get past his guard and act like they are taking him down. Maybe a ring out would work. Okay, begin. Ectoplasm announced the start of the match. Shoto wasted no time and sent a wave of ice that can be described as a glacier at the emerald and gold-eyed teen. Izuku acted on his reflexes and jumped to the side, but let a finger graze the ice, using Overhaul to shatter a good portion of the ice. He couldn't break the entire thing because it was fractured, and he can only affect things that are connected to each other, and not just touching. Shoto kept sending even more ice at Izuku, knowing now that Izuku can't affect his entire ice, if Shoto cracked it himself as he sent it at the masked kid. This definitely helped Izuku's whole throwing the match goal. Shoto figured out a hole in Overhaul and was capitalizing on it. Granted, of course Izuku could find a way to counter that he didn't because he wanted Shoto to win. One of them had to shove it to their fathers there today, and Shoto's father was watching from a balcony at that exact moment. Izuku shattered more ice with just a finger and saw a pillar come up below him. He didn't think it would actually knock him out of the ring, so he dodged it and grabbed it, manipulating the ice it was connected to, and making it strike Shoto in his chest. The ice user lost his breath and almost fell over, but used his ice to prop himself up and sent ice from 6 directions at Izuku. Izuku found the one piece of ice that would hit him out of bounds and ignored it, using Overhaul to make the ground block all but 2 of the ice attacks. He tapped the one that wouldn't knock him out, and got hit by the winning ice attack. It hitting him with enough force to put a crack on his right arm and push him out of bounds. Todoroki has pushed Chisaki out of bounds. Ectoplasm announced the results. Endeavor had an irritated look. Shoto beating that Chisaki kid with just his ice ruined Endeavor trying to make Shoto realize he can't just ignore his fire. Izuku was smiling. Hey, good match Todoroki. He offered a fist bump. Shoto looked at Izuku for a second. He felt that with what Izuku has made clear about his own quirk, that the mask-wearing kid should have beaten him. It was okay. Your dad looks mad. Izuku had his smile as he said that quietly to Shoto. The ice and fire user understood exactly what just happened. Izuku threw the match. Hell, he must now have even been trying hard. All for what? So Shoto can make his dad annoyed. Why would he do something so stupid? Why? Your ice beat me, duh. He wanted those flames and clearly you only need ice to beat me. Izuku played dumb on the true meaning of Shoto's question. Erko approached him. You gave it your best, Izu. Yep. He had a happy grin, having removed his mask to let it hang around his neck. It might not have been effort into winning for himself, but that was good effort. Todoroki, recovery girl is in the locker room if you need any healing before your next match. For you too, Chisaki, if you need it. Ectoplasm said. I'm fine. Izuku tapped his arm and healed it. He and Riko began to leave. Shoto was still thinking hard. Izuku wasn't even trying to win, and he still gave Shoto trouble. He was leagues above Shoto and just gave up a spot that out of the 2 of them he clearly deserved for something that didn't involve him. It wasn't right to Shoto. He wouldn't just drop out because Izuku clearly made a conscious choice there, and it would be wasted with Shoto doing that. The ice-using teen then made his own clear choice. Chisaki. The ice and fire user said to get the other teen's attention as he was leaving. Izuku turned to look at him. What's up? The ice and fire user wasn't after power anymore to prove his father wrong. He didn't care about that after seeing Izuku's actions. He now wanted what Izuku had. That will, that drive, to do what he believed was right. He found a rival in Izuku, and not an antagonistic rival, but hopefully a friendly rival. One who understood his problems and was there to help. Izuku gave up something that he worked hard for, and Shoto was definitely not going to let that be the end of their relationship. Next time it will be my all, Shoto stated. He was going to catch up to Izuku and have a proper rematch. Izuku gained a large grin. I can't wait. With that, the friendship of two of the greatest heroes of the next generation was born. As Izuku and Riko were leaving Gym Gamma, they got stopped a second time, this time by Nezu. Hello Miss Satsuma and Chisaki. The mouse was cheerful. May I have a word? Sure. Izuku wondered if the quirked animal was aware of his throwing the match. He figured Riko was aware, but was going to wait till later to bring it up. I would like to hear your reasoning. I believe you clearly made yourself lose there. Nezu was confused by how Izuku threw his match. I was actually going to ask that myself later. Riko turned to her pseudo-son. I felt he needed it more. A slot as recommended student isn't gifted, but earned Chisaki. You have more than enough talent to deserve one of the 4 spots. Nezu was completely prepared to offer Izuku one of the other spots, if his reasoning was actually good enough, because his answer so far didn't seem like the whole thing. I saw a similarity, but also a difference where his winning meant more in the long run than my winning. Izuku answered. I can just take the regular entrance exams next week, so I was fine with it. You were okay with losing the chance of being a recommendation student. Titles aren't everything. Izuku shrugged. Nezu was quiet for only a second. This Izuku was definitely interesting, and if the boy was this interesting, he definitely wanted him to attend UA, and that manipulation quirk of his will definitely get him into UA. Chisaki, you are definitely an interesting person. Thank you. I can't wait to see your actions next week at the entrance exams. I'll bring my A game. I'm hoping for it. Have a good day, you two. Nezu waved as the two left. Izuku would definitely be interesting to watch as he grows into a hero. Nezu was just wondering why that mask felt familiar. Todoroki, your final match is next. Ectoplasm's clone stated as it entered the waiting room. Thank you. Shoto said as he looked at his hands. This was going to be a good match for Shoto. He already proved, even if it is Izuku's own actions, that his fire was unnecessary to his father. However, he now wanted to make himself as strong as he could to catch up to Izuku, and for that he would have to go through hard work with everything he has, just like his rival has done. He couldn't just ignore the fire anymore, and he didn't see it as his father's anymore. He would cultivate it in new ways that are his own that will help him catch up to Izuku. He had respect for the masked teen, and this match would show that, by him using everything he has to use his potential like Izuku. Shoto could ignite his left side, and it will be fine. His control was good, but nowhere near where he would prefer it. He could shoot balls of fire now or simple streams as well. Today he will be leaning on his ice still since his control was near perfect, but starting after this next match, he will be fine-tuning both sides to perfection. Getting up, he left his waiting room to go to his match, the one where he would go against whoever was in Zone 8. Entering the gym floor, he saw his opponent already waiting on the platform. An unpleasant-looking guy with spiky blonde hair and crimson eyes. He had on black training clothes and was cracking his fingers in anticipation. Hurry up so I can kick your ass. The blonde wanted to get his match over because he knew he would win and wanted to get his recommendation. Shoto had an annoyed look as he got to his spot across from this blonde. He preferred Izuku way more than this person. Izuku was proud, sure, but his pride wasn't an arrogance like this guy. Bakugo, Todoroki, are you both ready? Ectoplasm asked. Yes. Shoto nodded. Let's get this started. Bakugo flexed his hands. Begin. Ectoplasm announced the start of the match. Shoto made a thick wall of ice immediately, just in case this Bakugo was fast. He heard explosions and saw his ice crack. Did this team make explosions? He got his answer when the blonde blew up the ice and blasted through, with explosions popping from his palms, straight at Shoto. The ice and fire user made way more ice to separate them, and figured he should stay mobile for this fight. That Bakugo seemed to only have close combat skill, and Shoto had ice to keep them separated. He noticed that Bakugo's hands were sweating way more than necessary. Why are you sweaty? Shoto asked. That's my quirk. The blonde bragged. I make explosions from the sweat in my hands. He blasted at Shoto. So really Shoto should focus on making Kasuki lose the sweat. Maybe he could just keep freezing the blonde's hands until they didn't make good explosions at all. He went with that and kept sending more ice at Bakugo, sending it in 3 sections to keep Bakugo thinking that the ice user wasn't focusing on his hands. Stop running away. Bakugo shouted as he kept chasing Shoto. Fight me up close. The heterochromatic teen wondered why the explosive teen was so angry, like way too angry. He didn't respond to him and keep on his feet, using walls of ice to keep Bakugo from instantly getting to him. Shoto noticed how his ice was pretty much everywhere at this point, since they were basically moving in a circle this whole time. Maybe he could melt it to make water. Water could wash away sweat. Shoto sent out a gigantic wave of ice, sending himself to the top of it, while Bakugo was busy trying to blast his way out of it, since he got caught in the ice that covered the entire platform. Can this count? The white and red-haired teen looked down at ectoplasm. The clone-making hero had an amused look at the question, and how bored it was asked. He seems to be able to get out of it. Sorry Todoroki. That's okay. Shoto figured he could do plan B, set himself on fire and burn his entire glacier, drenching Bakugo and removing his sweat. He ignited his flames and kept pushing them farther and farther up in intensity, the heat being felt all over the gym, as he began to melt his ice. He could maybe hold this for a couple of seconds at his current level, but it should be enough to melt the ice into water. You have fucking fire. Bakugo broke out of the ice and looked at Shoto in confusion. Apparently, Shoto's time limit on his flames was reached, and he extinguished them. Don't be a sarcastic fuck. Bakugo jumped at Shoto. While Shoto didn't get to drench his opponent, but that didn't matter, Shoto had a backup plan. The ice user made a pillar of ice shoot up from the ice already below Bakugo at a speed the teen wasn't ready for, and it smacked his chest with force. Bakugo rolled as he hit the ground and got up. Cheap fucking shot. You should have seen it coming. Shoto made ice go at Bakugo, it actually sliding across the ice already covering the ground. He only pushed it so he could focus more on his other plan. Don't treat me like a fucking idiot. Bakugo didn't like this arrogant asshole. He dodged the ice by jumping to the side like Shoto figured he would. Okay. Shoto made ice cover Bakugo's feet once he saw where he would land. Now that the explosive user's legs were covered, he would be stuck until he used his hands and explosions to break out, leaving him wide open when he did. Bakugo scowled and used his left arm to break his leg out, keeping the other aimed at Shoto, prepared for more ice. I'm not falling for any dumb tricks. Okay. Shoto made the ice he was moving under the other teen burst out from under the top layer of ice. There wasn't enough time for Bakugo to properly react, and it gave him a hard uppercut to his jaw, knocking him back. The teen stayed upright however, since his one leg was still frozen. Shoto sent his final bit of ice, striking the ice Bakugo was on, and making it slide over the other ice, straight out of bounds. Bakugo is out of bounds. Todoroki wins by force out. Ectoplasm announced the results of the match. Gah! Bakugo screamed in anger and punched the ice that was covering his right leg. Fucking damn it. Shoto ignored his opponent's poor reaction to losing to look at Ectoplasm. What do I do now? If you need it, Recovery Girl is still here, and then Nezu has a final interview with you. That's it. Ectoplasm answered. Thank you. Shoto walked to the entrance, where Endeavor was waiting. Your ice has gotten more creative. Endeavor stated, not in an irritated or annoyed tone at all. It was the closest Endeavor has gotten to a compliment to Shoto in a while. It has to be more if I want to catch up to him. Shoto walked past his father. Him? The flame hero got confused as he followed his son. Who was his son trying to catch up to? Because Endeavor knew he wouldn't just pick up the goal Endeavor has made for him just like that. My rival. Now Shoto has gotten himself a rival. Endeavor was surprised, the boy had so far not cared for other people. If you need help let me know. It was now Shoto's turn to be confused. Was his father offering help and not forcing it? Back with Bakugo he was cursing up a storm in his mind. He was getting into UA no matter what. He was going to get in with the highest record possible bro, show everyone how superior he was. Hisashi had an annoyed look as he hated that Endeavor's son beat his students. They would have to train harder. Sensei. Bakugo got Hisashi's attention. We're upping my fucking training. I am breaking All Might's record at the entrance exams. Easy. Hisashi knew that they would obviously have that record taken by bounds. No one but a student of his would break it. Urkel looked at Izuku as they were driving to Izuku's home. So was it? About me throwing the match? Yes. I feel like there's more. There is. His dad is a jerk. I don't know how close to my read that guy. Izuku wasn't going to call Hisashi his real father, because that guy is not a father. But somewhere close. Izuku answered. It would have helped Todoroki to beat me with just his eyes. Urko frowned. Endeavor was also a terrible person. The number 2 hero really. At least she knew All Might, the number 1 hero, was a good person. He was actually Izuku's godfather at this point too. She was proud of Izuku for his actions. You're a good kid, Izu. So is Todoroki. I can't wait for our rematch. Izuku knew that Shoto would give it as also Izuku had to do the same. So what part should we tell Kai first? You throwing a match or crashing through a window face first? Not the window. Dad thinks I am smart. Izuku turned a small tint of red, remembering that he crashed through a window. He'll get a good laugh out of it. I don't want to be laughed at. He won't laugh at you, just the situation. I think that's still me. Technicality. Okay, I guess. Hello, Todoroki. Nezu had set up a table by the entrance outside of Gym Gamma. The girl with green hair and sharp teeth had just left the table when Shoto got there. The final part is just a conversation so I can get a feel for you and how you will be as a hero. Okay. Shoto sat at the table, and ever having given space to let the interview go with the required non-presence of anyone else besides Nezu and Shoto. My first question. How do you think you would do as a hero? In what aspect? That was a vague question. Nezu was glad Shoto actually asked that. Most people always say they would kick ass or be a strong hero. How do you think you will do in the public eye? Shoto guessed Nezu was questioning each person to see if they were aware of their own flaws. They did have to do a good bit of stuff for the recommendation exams even before the actual exams, so Nezu would have a file on everyone and their personalities no doubt. He could use this himself as a personal evaluation, since he wanted to be equal with Izuku on as many levels as possible. I come across as cold so my popularity won't be high from that. However, now that I am thinking more on this, I don't think I care for what the public eye says. I should just do what is right no matter what and not what is popular. Heroes shouldn't try to be number one. At this point he was using Izuku's actions as an example for his train of thought, and also his own opinion in his father, and that man's choices. I want to be strong, yes, but that doesn't make a hero. So what does make a hero? Nezu was surprised by how Shoto's answers were different from what he thought they would be. Shoto thought for a second. Someone who just does what they feel is right, even at a personal loss. That is a good quality. The mouse smiled. He knew Shoto was influenced by Izuku's actions earlier. So should a hero ever have popularity as a goal? I don't care for popularity. If someone has it as a side goal, that is them, but I don't care for it. What are your own goals then? I don't want to be number one. I just want to be equal with someone. A rival. Yes. Rivals can help people grow. Nezu definitely was more interested in this Izuku kid. To have such a huge and positive influence on someone like this was definitely noteworthy. Perhaps he should also look into Izuku's background more to learn where he developed such character. Dad, we're home. Izuku announced their return to the Chisaki household. Izu. Eri jumped out of seemingly nowhere and tackled Izuku in a hug. Hi Eri. Izuku hugged his little sister and set her down. How was your day? I saw a picture of a husky. That's so cool. Izuku grinned. How was the exams, Izuku? Kai came out from his study. Izuku was going to say how he threw his match, but Riko spoke at the same time. He jumped through a window. She stifled a chuckle. Kai had a blank face for a second before he laughed also. How? He used Overhaul to move from a rooftop to an office building. Riko offered part of the explanation. I raced my teammate and we both forgot about what windows are and crashed through it. Did you win the race? Kai asked as he stopped laughing as much. Izuku blinked. He didn't actually remember who hit the window first. Dang, I wasn't paying attention. His parental figures both laughed more, making him turn a little red. That's not the only thing that happened. Izuku was blushing hard. Izuku, I shouldn't laugh because I have made some dumb choices despite how smart I am. Aha. A blonde teen girl Izuku's age jumped around a corner and pointed at Kai. So you weren't always right. No, I still am. But you just. Who's she? Izuku pointed at the blonde. This is Himiko. Kai patted her head, an action that confused Himiko, but she didn't stop it. She is joining the house. I know you said you would offer that room to another kid, but I didn't think it would take just 4 weeks. Riko remarked. Hi mom. Eri cut in to greet Riko, who returned the greeting. She needed it. Kai stated. She's staying here as long as she needs. You're Izuku? Himiko asked the green-haired teen. Yep. Izuku nodded. Nice to meet you, Himiko. He offered his hand to shake. Himiko immediately shook it. I like your attitude. I like yours too. Are you really as much of a nerd as Mr. Chisaki says you are? You called me nerd. Izuku looked at his dad. Not like that. He said really smart, so I took it as nerd. Am I a nerd? Yes. Eri answered. Hey. You read books all day. I'm 6, what else should I do? You read books for someone my age. What type of books do you read? Eri asked. Izuku was really intelligent, sure, but he didn't spend much time reading actual books. I take college courses. Nerd. Eri stuck her tongue out at her brother. You're a nerd too? Izuku stuck his tongue out also. I'm siblings with nerds. Himiko deadpanned. But we're cool nerds. Both Izuku and Eri stated. Kai was chuckling from the exchange, but stopped to ask a question. How did the rest of the exams go? Oh, I threw the first match I was in. Izuku looked at his dad innocently. Kai had a flat look. You did what? I thought you were a nerd. Himiko also had a flat look. You are supposed to try to win matches, not throw them. I know that, Izuku responded. I threw it because Todoroki needed to win more than me. Why? His father knew there was a good reason because Izuku wouldn't just waste an opportunity. His dad is a jerk like my original one. Really? Kai was surprised. He knew the Todoroki name must be pointing at Endeavor. Was the number 2 hero also a dick dad? Yay. Todoroki is a cool guy. He can control fire and ice, but because of his dad, he doesn't use the fire as a way to spite him. I made it look like Todoroki beat me with just his ice to mess with Endeavor. I believe Todoroki found out easily and declared Izu here rival. Rico said as everyone sat at the dining room table. It seems friendly. Yay. He said next time he is giving it his all, so I am too. I take it you are taking the normal entrance exams next week? Kai asked. Yep. The principal even said he can't wait to see me at it. He figured out what I did also. You did a good thing. Kai had a proud smile. I have no doubt that when you get into UAU and this Todoroki will have a good time as rivals. I hope we actually get the same class. Izuku thought how cool it would be if they ended up in the same class. Is UA really that cool? Himiko asked. Izuku gave her a hard nod. Good people can become actual heroes there and train to protect others. Himiko got an idea at that moment. I'm going to UA also then. Really? Kai asked. Yay. Himiko nodded hard. I want to get strong and protect any bonds I make. That is a good goal. Riko liked Himiko already, maybe it was just her liking kids in general or something, but she felt that Himiko had a good heart. Well then the next week is pure work, so you are ready for it, Kai said. Applications can be turned in tomorrow for it at the latest, so we should work on that today and then training. I'll help. Izuku got excited to help. I wanna help too, Iri declared. Himiko had a large smile from all the help they were offering. She definitely wanted to have strong bonds with them. Later that day Nezu was sipping tea while he was waiting for All Might to come to his office. He had a real heavy subject, and he honestly needed the most powerful hero on this, because if it was anyone else there might be trouble. He had researched Izuku Chisaki for curiosity's sake, and found him, the villain Overhaul who had been in hiding it seems for years. It chilled him to think that this powerful villain who was only known as that by the underworld and older heroes, actually had a kid with the same quirk, and that kid was attempting to enter UA. What was Overhaul's plan? Was he coming out of his hiding as a villain? Why was he even hiding as a doctor at a lab? Was he holding a facade to get more intimate knowledge on all of the heroes in Musatafu? Either way he had to wait for All Might, so they can plan a way of taking down the powerful villain. A knock at the door interrupted the mouse's thoughts. Come in. Nezu spoke up. It was All Might. The massive blonde man was in his civilian clothes, plus a blue coat for the chilly weather. Hello, Nezu. All Might had a happy grin before he lost it at Nezu's expression. Is something wrong? I happened to come across the whereabouts of a supervillain who has been in hiding for years. Nezu stated. All Might collapsed into the seat he was going to sit in. Was All for One still alive? How? After what he and Kai did, that man should definitely be dead. Where is he? All Might would definitely make sure All for One is defeated for good this time. He works at the Cherry Waters lab. It is Overhaul. Nezu expected at least a shocked expression from All Might, but was caught off by what he actually got as a response. The massive blonde hero blinked before he burst into laughter. Toshinori Yagi, this is no laughing manner. Nezu snapped. Did All Might really not understand the severity of this? Overhaul can kill people with a touch. Hahaha. Sorry. All Might wiped a tear. I already know that Kai works there. Kai? Why was All Might calling the supervillain by his first name? How do you know? Kai is not a supervillain anymore, Nezu. Far from it, he is actually reformed. He actually helped me in that fight against All for One 6 years ago. He what? It's actually a touching story in my opinion. He reformed himself after he found this little child close to death in an alley and took him in. You met the boy. Izuku. Nezu was almost never confused, but this definitely made him that. It made him actually the most confused he had ever been. Really. It is true. He doesn't even have Overhaul anymore. Explain. Nezu expected every detail. All Might gave every detail. As much as he didn't want to give out Kai's private information, he didn't want Nezu to call a raid on Kai. After he explained everything to the mouse, the court animal leaned back in his chair. Nezu had a lot of new information to process. This is definitely something I would never expect. It caught me off guard too at first. All Might nodded. But he is genuinely good. He is a good father to Izuku and this other sweet child Iri. I was actually going to visit them in a bit to see how my godson did in his exams today. He lost a match and cost himself his spot on purpose. Nezu answered. He did it because he thought it would help the other student with a personal problem of theirs. That Izuku is intriguing. He has a heart of gold. All Might agreed. I am going to. Nezu got off of his seat. I have never shared a cup of tea with a reformed supervillain before. Nezu wanted to see and speak with Kai himself, because this was all new to him. I will let him know a guest is coming. Anything you touch. Himiko was sitting upside down on the stairs while talking to Izuku, who was at the bottom playing checkers with the Eri. Yay. I can actually fuse with people too. Really? Himiko got an intrigued look. Like completely fuse with them. Yay, or even a partial, like our arms could be conjoined sort of. That's neat. Do you get anything from the fusion? I would guess super strength. Kind of. It's like my strengths and theirs stack. I also get their quirk. Like permanently. Just for a little bit. It's like a time limit. Can you get it from a partial? Izuku blinked. Never checked. Do it now. Himiko turned to sit up and put her arm in front of Izuku. Okay. He poked her arm and a small flash of smoke and the sound of electricity sounded. Once the small amount of smoke disappeared, they could all see that half of Izuku's hand was gone, inside of Himiko's forearm that looked slightly contorted from the fusion. Whoa, this is weird. Himiko moved her arm up and down, seeing Izuku's hand follow. I can feel your hand. I can feel your arm and pretty much everything, including your quirk slightly. Izuku said. He felt like he could access her quirk, but at a very weak level, compared to the real thing. It helps me when it comes to manipulating things. Wait, can you change how I work biologically? If I know what I am doing, yay. I just have to know it to work it. What if you know someone's quirk? If I know someone's quirk, yay, could you change it? Theoretically I probably could. But quirks are like really complicated. Each one is like a very complex and long sheet of coding that is completely unique. How much coding? If each digit of the coding was the size of a quarter, then it could cover more than half of the planets in our solar system. Some quirks would need every planet for space. That's a lot of quarters. How does that all fit in our blood? Really compressed. Dad's lab is one of the best when it comes to researching them. Wait, so other people actually know how to pass on quirks too? No? That was just Dad. He alone is honestly better than the labs. Wait, so does anyone know that he actually made a way to pass you a quirk like that? Himiko was shocked. That was like the scientific discovery of the century. Dad said villains or terrible people might abuse it. He didn't want that, so it stayed a secret. We passed it off as I developed late and he got a sickness that suppressed his quirk. Only people who know is us here, Dad, Mom, and Yagi-sensei. Who is Yagi? All Might. Himiko jumped up in surprise, yanking Izuku as a result, since he never undid the partial fusion. You guys know All Might. Yay. Izuku tried to regain his balance. He is big. Eri commented. He has to duck into the doorway. Izuku added. Why do you know All Might? Himiko was confused. Dad is friends with him. The emerald-haired teen answered. Really? Yay. Yagi-sensei was actually going to visit today. He should be here soon. Cool. He said he would bring me caramel apples. Eri remembered what All Might promised her. He said caramel apple. Not plural. Izuku pointed out. I heard apples. Eri took 2 of Izuku's pieces. He probably is bringing at least 4 anyways. Izuku shrugged, the statement making Eri grin. I would like 4. Kai walked past the 3 as he went from his study to the dining room. Hello. Hi, Dad. Both Izuku and Eri got happy. Hello, Mr. Chisaki. Himiko replied. All Might said he was bringing a guest who wants to meet me. Kai told them as he grabbed a binder from work off of the dining room table and walked back to his study. Did he say who? Izuku asked. He didn't. He just said the person was interested in my work and meeting me. Will Mom be back for dinner? Eri asked. Riko had left an hour earlier because she got a call from her agency. It wasn't anything major, just a computer mess up, and she was one of the people who had a key to restore the files from the backup. She should. A knock happened at the door. Izuku, being the closest, went to open it. When he did, he saw his godfather All Might. Hello Izuku, my boy. Toshinori had his signature grin. He held up a bag that Izuku could see had at least 6 wrapped up caramel apples. Where is little Eri? Hi All Might. The girl blurred past Izuku to hug her godfather. Her short was compared to how tall All Might was made her just hug his calf. Hi Eri. Toshinori's grin got bigger if possible. He loved those 2 kids and they made him happier just by being around. I have brought the apples. Yay. Eri took the bag happily. Thank you. I take it Toshinori is here. Kai's voice was heard from his study. He can practically hear his close friend's booming voice from the other side of Japan if he tried. I am here. Toshinori got a good laugh from saying his signature quote. He then noticed a new child he hasn't seen before, a blonde girl who seemed nervous. Hello youngster. I am Toshinori Yagi. I'm Himiko Chisaki. She almost used her real name. Himiko was told by Kai that he was filing adoption papers and such for her, so she would legally be Chisaki. It made her happy that he was taking her in, it just felt weird how sudden it was. It is nice to meet you, young Himiko. You call everyone young. When you are less than half my age you are a youngster. Can I call you oldster? Himiko asked innocently. The man burst into laughter. That is new. I would enjoy that very much. Okay, oldster Yagi. Himiko smiled. Hello, Tosh. Kai walked around the corner again, holding a different binder. Hi Kai. This is my guess. The muscular blonde moved to reveal Principal Nezu. Principal Nezu. Izuku got confused. A midget bear? Himiko asked. I am not a bear. Nezu wasn't even offended at all by Himiko's statement, he found it amusing as that was the first time someone called him that. Hello, I am Nezu. It is nice to meet you for the first time, Overhaul. He was looking at Kai. The original holder of Overhaul dropped his binder at being called that, feeling like he was here for Kai to make him pay for his crimes from over a decade ago. You could have said it in a less stress-inducing way, Toshinori commented. Don't worry, Kai. He knows about your past, but I made it clear you are a different man. Kai felt relieved, at least now he knew he wouldn't have the entire police force of Musatafu knocking down every way into his house. He made it very clear. The court animal nodded. I got interested in seeing a reformed supervillain if I am to be honest. Reformed supervillain. Himiko looked at Kai. Was he really an ex-villain? Was that part of why he thought Himiko could redeem herself? Because he did. Dad, were you a bad guy? Yuri looked up at her father. This was a day Kai didn't really want. He was okay with Izuku knowing what he used to be, because Izuku was there from the second Kai began to change, and was the reason he changed. But he didn't want Yuri to know that he used to be an evil person. Before I found Izuku, I used to be an unpleasant person. Dad changed though, Yuri. Izuku defended his father. Yuri nodded. Dad couldn't stay bad too long. He's too nice. She accepted it rather easily. He's a doctor now, and if he tries to be bad, Mom would kick his butt. I wouldn't want that. Fighting Riko in a serious fight would be the last thing Kai would want. Miss Susumu would certainly not let him go back to villainy. Toshinori nodded. Sorry if I caused any stress or unwanted situations with my being here. Nezu apologized. It is fine. Kai only accepted it as fine, since Yuri didn't lose any faith or trust in him. What sort of conversation do you want? Kai wasn't going to be rude to the principal big the school Izuku wanted to get into. Really, I just want to know more about you and how you reformed. I haven't heard of a person on your level changing so vastly. I suppose I can provide that. We were about to have dinner, if you would like to you can join us. I would like that. I can break tea for our conversation too. Kai offered. I would like that even more. The mouse loved his tea. Urko had just finished rebooting the computers at her agency. She didn't leave immediately because she needed to make sure all of the files were actually restored. She was going to open a recent one she knew well about since she was the one who had filed it, but noticed a few files that were marked as unresolved, and they were from over a decade ago. She opened the first one, an unsolved murder that was actually at Cherry Waters. The case had no evidence of foul play, but the victim had none of his organs in the correct spot, as if some outside force magically shifted them. There was only one word listed under where it said possible suspects, a word that made Riko do a double take. Overhaul. Endeavor heard something outside and went to check what it was. What he saw was actually surprising. It was Shoto, covered in sweat but still physically working out in the garden with full effort. His son never seemed to bother with as much physical training before, so this was bizarre. What was more off-putting to Endeavor was the cloak of fire and ice Shoto had the entire time he was training. Shoto had a new flame in him that was guiding him, and Endeavor was surprised at how driven his son looked. Shoto collapsed after a few more minutes, his exhaustion had finally gotten to him. Shoto. Endeavor moved to his son's side, and was surprised as the boy pushed himself up. Boy, don't push too much. The ice and fire-using teen looked at his father with an annoyed expression. Funny that you say that. Now that felt like a smack to Endeavor. Shit, now that it was just Shoto pushing himself, Endeavor was now realizing how badly he had been pushing the boy. Endeavor sighed, knowing he fucked up. You still should take your breath. Later. Shoto tried to stand up, but Endeavor out his massive hand on his son to keep him in a kneeling position. I want you to take at least 3 breaths before you get back up. Shoto scowled. Fine. Just who are you trying to be better than? Not better, equal. The teen corrected his father. Equal? Endeavor raised a flaming eyebrow. I want to be equal with Chisaki. That boy? Endeavor got only mildly surprised. It made sense, he supposed that it was Chisaki. Although Shoto beat him, did he not? I think you already beat him. No, I didn't. Shoto shook his head. That wasn't at our best. I want us to be able to go all out. Endeavor guessed it was possible that Chisaki boy was holding back. However, Shoto didn't seem antagonistic about his declaration of a rivalry with the boy. Maybe Endeavor should let this play out on its own. While Kai and Nezu talked, All Might had gone to speak with Izuku, Himiko and Iri. Izuku my boy, I take it that now you will be joining the regular entrance exams. Yep. Izuku nodded. My application from the recommendation exam still counts for it too, so I don't need to fill out more forms. I'm going to UA too, Himiko added. You want to be a hero too? Toshinori asked. No. The blonde teen shook her head. I just know that people get tough at that place, and I want to be strong enough to protect my bonds. That is still admirable. Perhaps you could become a hero and protect others and their bonds as well. The pro-hero offered. Himiko gained a thinking pose. That works, I guess. Will you be going to UA when it is your turn, Iri? No. Iri was coloring a picture while they were talking. I want to be a doctor like Dad. You're already on a good path for that. Dad says I'm too smart for my own good sometimes. I think he says that about all of us. Izuku laughed. You crashed through a window. Don't come at me. Izuku playfully tapped his sister on the horn. You can't even color inside the lines. I'm 6. I can get away with it. She said it again to mess with Izuku. When you are that smart you can't use your age as an excuse. I'm 6. Iri repeated herself. I can get away with it. You better be glad you are adorable. She is adorable. Himiko nodded and Iri beamed. Himiko. Toshinori cut in. Do you already have your forms filled out for the entrance exams? I do for the most part, but I have to say what middle school I am from, and I don't want to do that. Something bad? Izuku asked. I kinda have issues. That's fine. Why not just say homeschooled? I guess. Don't you care that I said I have issues? I technically have daddy issues, so Daddy issues? Himiko thought Izuku and Kai got along. I'm adopted. That guy I am related to by blood is a jerk. My mom is a jerk. Not Dragon Mom, she is the best. Iri added. Chisaki, I want to be completely honest. Nezu sipped some of his tea. He had to admit Kai knew how to make some damn good tea. He was thinking about this for half of their discussion. Kai definitely had an interesting story, especially after finding Izuku in that alley a decade prior. The road he took from that point was definitely one of redemption. He became a man of science and had actually pushed science by years, maybe decades, by making the synthetic quirk that helped him give Izuku Overhaul. It was definitely a discovery of a lifetime. And Kai didn't even reveal it, knowing how it could be abused. He took in 3 separate kids who had troubling past, and all 3 are, from what Nezu can tell, extremely gifted in their own ways. He had to have Kai at UA. I want to offer you a job at UA being a teacher. A teacher? Yes. For the hero course, in fact. You have a unique set of wisdom that could only do good for the next generation of heroes. Aren't there only 2 classes? Of 20 each. You already have teachers and I am a quirk researcher and doctor. You are familiar with our setup. Izuku really wants to get in, we did research. He will no doubt get into the hero course. I can adjust the hero course so that there will be 3 teachers. Wait. 4 teachers for the hero course. 4 teachers. Miss Rikak also had part in your son's development, no doubt. I would like to think that the influence from her would be good for the next generation as well. You want to offer us jobs? Kai was still trying to get that to sink in. Not even an hour ago I believed that you thought of me as the old Overhaul. I think All Might and your family are proof enough that you have indeed changed. I can't accept the job. I like my job at the Cherry Waters lab. What if we let you do your research on campus? With more funding. Does UA even have that much extra funding? You have no idea. How would this even work? Kai was actually considering it. You would be the homeroom teacher of one of 4 hero course classes. With this I believe the classes will be split into 10 students per class. You will direct their hero training outside of the actual hero class that I have no doubt you already know Toshinori will be teaching, and you will also rotate with the other teachers, teaching a subject to each class for an hour. I believe with your profession it would be science related. What will be my hours at Cherry Waters? When your class is at their block for the hero class from Toshinori if you like, plus any other free time. You can even involve our own recovery girl if you want. I know Miss Shizenji. She actually helped with Project Overhaul. Oh? Nezu did not know that. So will you be taking the job at UA? Can I think on it? Kai asked. This is a big decision. Of course. Is there a chance that Miss Rikak is coming here tonight? It would make it easier to contact her. She should be. Kai nodded. 20 minutes later Riko did show up, but she had an expression of hard thought and discomfort. She was also holding some folders. It was Izuku who opened the door and saw this expression. Hi Mom. Are you okay? For the most part. She patted Izuku on the head, not knowing how his parental situation was going to be in a few minutes. Is Chisaki here? Izuku felt like something was off. Riko hasn't called his dad by Chisaki in years. Yes, he is in the dining room. Thank you, Izu. At least she still called Izuku by his nickname. Riko entered the dining room and was surprised to see Principal Nezu there as well, however that was not the most pressing thing to her. She also couldn't say anything at that exact moment, since All Might, Himiko and Iri were also at the table. Hi Mom. Iri waved. Hi Iri. Riko looked at Kai. Can we talk privately for a moment? Kai felt like something was off. The dragon hero looked unhappy. Sure. He got up to follow her, where she led them to his study and closed the door so they can have privacy. Riko, are you okay? What is this? She slammed the folders into his chest and hands. What? Kai got confused and opened a file, seeing an unsolved murder marked for 12 years ago. Kai realized this was someone he killed while a Yakuza. Chisaki, this is you, isn't it? She was trying to hope it wasn't Kai and just someone with a similar quirk, but the name Overhaul that floated around was the exact same name Kai had for his quirk. Please tell me that none of this is you. Kai looked at the stack of reports in his hands. He knew he couldn't even dare say this wasn't even all of it, however he also couldn't lie at all. Riko, this is all me. But it was a. You were a villain. She felt something in her eye. How? Why? Riko, please let me explain. Why? How do I know that it won't be another fucking lie? That was the first time Riko ever cursed. She was beginning to tear up. After doubting half of everything all day, it was crushing that the one person she trusted more than anything was living behind a large dark lie. Because I don't want to lie anymore. Kai answered. Toshinori can confy. All Might too. Riko, listen. Kai was trying to explain, but the tearful woman wouldn't listen. Chisaki, how could you be a... Kai put his hand over Riko's mouth to stop her. Toshinori is not a villain, neither am I. Yes, I used to be part of the Yakuza. I had no home and as a young child my father Kenjiro saved me from living in alleys. I grew up in the Yakuza and tried to honor him for saving my life. Yes, I was by any definition an evil and twisted man, but that changed because of Izuku. Everything about Izuku and everything since I found him in that alley is true. He changed me and I swear I am not that man anymore. Riko still had tears in her eyes. Why should I believe you? She trusted him the most in her life, and their whole friendship was built next to the biggest lie and secret imaginable. You're the last person I want to keep secrets from. I was afraid. You're a hero and I used to be a villain. You think I was okay with it at all over the past 10 years? Look at me in my eyes and just see I am telling the truth. He was holding her by her shoulders. She looked at his eyes for a solid moment. He didn't have any deception at all, if anything he had stress and worry. She knew he was telling the truth then. Part of her trust was restored. Does Izuku know? He's always known. You haven't done anything criminal since you found Izuku. If he hadn't, she would be more relieved. Only thing I did was try to talk to another villain years ago to help me get Izuku Overhaul. That was when All Might showed up. The villain turned on me when I rejected his deal, and I helped All Might put him down. I have done nothing criminal since, I swear. Really? Helping All Might put down a villain negated the bad part of it for Riko, especially since Kai rejected the deal. He realized he technically did something not even a few weeks ago when he hacked and stole Riko's medical files to find a cure for her infertility. He wasn't hiding anything anymore, so he came clean. I actually hacked a hospital for some files 4 weeks ago. What? The dragon was losing her trust again. For what? Kai grabbed the red binder on his desk. You told me how you were unable to have kids, and I decided that you deserved that chance, so I stole these to work on a cure or find a way for you to have kids. Riko looked at the binder, opening it to see so many notes and research. She looked up at Kai. His eyes had a scared look, like he was afraid of a negative reaction from her. That wasn't a villain. He risked talking a villain to give his power to a boy he found in an alley. Gave up his whole lifestyle and changed to support a child that he had no reason to care for. Became a doctor and worked every day to help everyone with every quirk-related disease and ailment he could. He was even trying to fix her birth defect even though it should be impossible. Kai wasn't a villain. He wasn't anything close to that. He was a good person. Riko dropped the binder and grabbed Kai in a really tight hug. All of her trust in him was restored. Yes, he had a dark past, but he wasn't that person at all anymore. We need to trust each other more. She whispered while she continued to cry. The day having destroyed her emotionally. I won't hide anything ever again. Kai felt like the world was removed from his shoulders and hugged her back. Later the two finally left the study and joined everyone at the table. Izuku didn't like how his parents had red eyes, but he wasn't going to just call them out on it, so he would change the subject unless they wanted to address it themselves. All Might told me he will give me $500 if I break his record at the entrance exams. Kai appreciated that his son controlled where the conversation went. You shouldn't gamble. It's not gambling. It's a reward. Toshinori responded. I didn't get that offer. Himiko pouted. You called me bunny ears. Your hair looks like bunny ears. Uncle Bunny Ears. Eri nodded. The blonde man looked at Eri with a look of betrayal. Next time I am only bringing 3 caramel apples. It was Eri's turn to look betrayed. No. You wouldn't. Yay, I won't. I'm too soft. Toshinori gave an embarrassed chuckle. Plus I know how to make caramel apples too. Izuku pointed out. Yakaniri stood on her seat with an intense look at her brother. Make me some. I spoke too soon. Izuku's sweat dropped. After a while the 3 kids all left for their own rooms, and it was just the 4 adults. Miss Rikik, may I interest you in a teaching job? Nezu got to the point. A teaching job. The blonde woman got confused. Me? Teaching? At UA? She didn't think she had what it took to be a good teacher. Why? I think you and Chisaki would be excellent teachers for the next generation. If you doubt that, then I would like to show Izuku Chisaki as an example of why you'd be wrong to doubt yourselves. He is truly an interesting person and has a good heart. He does. Toshinori nodded. I also believe you two would be wonderful teachers at UA, or any school for that matter. Both of us. Riko looked at Kai, wondering if Nezu would flip like she did if he learns about Kai's past. Indeed. Nezu nodded. A pure-hearted hero and a reformed villain will have good bits of wisdom to give. I know about Overhaul. The corked animal nodded. At this point his past and everything up until this point makes me really want him to be a teacher at UA. I will consider it. I just don't want to lose my ability to do quirk research. Kai stated. I understand completely. Let me know by the entrance exams please. How about you, Miss Rikik? I don't think I would be the best teacher. If he thinks an ex-villain can be a good teacher to future heroes, then surely a current damned good hero would be better. Kai stated his case, believing Riko would definitely be a great teacher. Riko blushed from the part where Kai called her a damned good hero. I guess I will consider it also. I will be eagerly awaiting your responses. Nezu said. May I ask what this is? Riko and Kai were now by themselves in the living room. Riko had picked back up the red binder and was looking at it. It says use Overhaul. How exactly does that fit in? Overhaul let me when I had to control people at any level. I understood. I had a theory that Izuku can't let others control the fusion. It would be possible for my better skill of Overhaul to reassemble you in a way where you don't have the birth defect. Would it actually work? I cure cancer with it. Can we try it right now? I'll get Izuku. Kai got up to go upstairs. Riko was nervous, thinking of all of the ways this could go wrong. That lasted only a second because it was Kai. He was too smart to make mistakes. A moment later Izuku and Kai came downstairs, Kai having told him the situation while getting Izuku. So I just do a fusion and let you get in control. If possible. If it isn't, I suppose you can just read up on anatomy to know the perfect version to replace hers with. I don't really want to think about that, so I want this to work. Izuku didn't know how to explain how weird it was if he would study the female reproductive organs to give his mom a functional set. That was just too uncomfortable, especially since she was his mom. He poked his father's arm and the fusion began, a puff of smoke clouding them, and the sound of crackling electricity filled the house. Once it cleared, Izuku was standing there alone, with more height and denser muscles. So how would I give control over? He asked out loud. This is all a guess, maybe just try to relax and push wherever you hear my voice coming from to the front. Kai's voice was heard in his head. Sounds reasonable. Izuku closed his eyes, took a breath and mentally pushed himself back, and felt that presence of Kai go in front. Once his eyes were reopened, they were just Kai's golden eyes. It worked. Kai said in a voice that was a combination of his and Izuku's, but more like his own. Kai moved the arms he could now control, he could feel Overhaul, and it felt noticeably different from when he had it. It still operated the same, but there were new parts to it also. UP. Izuku's voice was in his head now. I still feel like I could take control, which helps if I ever need it, I guess. Let's do this. Kai poked Riko. The disassembling might be painful. That's okay. I trust you. The dragon woman said. And it was painful, for all of 5 seconds before it wasn't. Kai only disassembled her for a whole second, before quickly repairing her back to normal, minus the birth defect he replaced with functional parts. That stung. The woman rubbed the spot where he had poked her, the only external spot that stung. Sorry. It is taking you apart at the cellular level. I did ask for it. Can I have my body back? This feels weird. Yes, Izuku. Kai dropped any control he had, their eyes swapping back to Izuku's emerald eyes with the gold rings. That just gave me whiplash. Izuku rubbed his neck. I'm separating us now. Go for it. His father's voice came in his head. Izuku undid the fusion, the now familiar smoke and electricity following. That was definitely a new experience with Overhaul. Kai rubbed his hands, the feeling from Overhaul gone. I never thought I would ride shotgun in my own body. Izuku sat down on the couch. It's technically a new body, Kai said. Yay, but my mind is predominantly in control, so my body. I'll at points. Kai looked at Riko. Do you want to check now at my lab or save it for tomorrow? The suspense will kill me. Riko shook her head. Can we check now? Let's go. Kai grabbed his coat. Izuku, you're in charge until we're back. Got it. Izuku nodded as the adults left. Once they were gone, he just turned the TV on to watch a talk show discuss a new hero's debut in America. At the lab, Kai tapped his screen. It did nothing to speed up the process really, but he still did it because he really wanted this thing to hurry up. After a minute of tapping, it finally showed exactly what he was wanting to see. Kai turned in his seat to face Riko, who was sitting next to him looking really nervous. What does the red line mean? Riko asked. It means you get to have kids one day. Kai had a smile. It took all of a second for the dragon woman to let that sink in, before she tackled Kai out of his seat in a hug. Thank you. She was crying again, this time out of happiness. I can't feel my arm. Kai wheezed through her tight grip. Sorry. She let go of him in embarrassment, her face red. It's fine. Kai didn't mind the hug besides the crushing feeling it gave. Thank you, Kai. I owe you so much. No, you don't. Kai shook his head as he picked his chair back up. Kai, you just erased a defect I have had my entire life, and gave me the chance to do something I have always wanted to do. I do owe you. No, you don't. I would do it again if I could. This is still huge. Well, you deserve it. Greatest person I know. Kai turned in his seat to close the binder. When he turned back to Riko, he saw an expression that confused him. With Kai's words, Riko finally understood part of why she got so distraught with Kai. When she learned about his past as Overhaul, she had feelings for him. She felt kind of stupid for not realizing this earlier. She decided to make up for lost time. Riko? Kai asked, confused about the look when the dragon hero crashed her lips into his. The next day, the Chisaki kids were in the backyard. Izuku was wondering where his parents were because they never came home the night before, but just guessed that they stayed at the lab later than they thought they would and went to Riko's, since the lab was closer to her place. Izuku decided to wait till later to see what happened with his parents, and was helping Himiko build her fighting form. Eri was just outside to enjoy fresh air. At the entrance exams, I know they have 2 parts. Izuku said. A written test and a practical half. In the practical, I heard they have robots for us to destroy, but that is it on what I know. Himiko thought hard. Are they the type of robots I can stab? She held up a knife. I don't even know where you had that. Izuku swore she just pulled that knife from thin air. I guess you could stab them. I actually studied the robots, just the one they call a one-pointer, since it is the only one with an available schematic, and it looks like it had an off button. So I stabbed the off button. Or just press it. I'm going to go with stab it. She thrust the knife into the air in front of her. I guess that works. Can I stab things? Eri asked from the patio table. After you turn 10. Why not now? Eri, you're 6. Rats. Eri, when you turn 10 I am getting you your own knives. Himiko stated. You're the best, big sis. Himiko smirked. Dang right. I feel like I should intervene on the knives, but that's 4 years from now. Izuku stated. Right now I guess I'm just going to focus on your form. Alright. What you got for me? The blonde figured he already had ideas to offer. You're not one for muscle, so speed is where your build and skills go. You calling me weak? I'm a speed build also. This means that it will be easier to show you things. I don't work with knives though. I stick with an open palm fighting style. Because of Overhaul. Yay. Plus this form is really good for my mobility. I guess you can tweak it to a knife style when you use those. I could also use this. The blonde pulled a large stick out of nowhere. I can use blunt weapons also, especially since I don't have the Play-Doh touch like you. We can definitely get you actual gear and not just sticks. But this has more of an impact when I bonk someone on the head. She swung it at a tree. Like whack. She broke the stick with the swing. Oh, I broke it. Okay, I want real gear. She tossed the broken stick backwards over her shoulder. Dad will be able to help well. He is cool like that. He had a way to give you Overhaul. Himiko then got an idea. I bet he gives me a gun. I doubt Dad would give a 15-year-old a gun. You don't know that. If he gives you a gun I should get a knife. Eri poked a leaf that dropped by her. You guys are making bold claims. Izuku remarked. Oh, he won't give me a gun or a knife, but he will give you a quirk that lets you control everything by touching it. Okay, so he might give Eri a knife. Izuku figured that was years off, however. And me a Glock. I will go bang bang on a fool. Himiko mimicked holding a gun sideways with her fingers. Why do you want a gun? Would you want to mess with the crazy girl with a gun? Not really. That's why. She nodded like it was obvious. No one will mess with my bonds if I can give them hot lead. Himiko picked up a new stick. Aren't you worried you might be too trigger happy? Oh, I know I'll be too trigger happy. Himiko threw her stick up the tree to see if she could catch it on a branch. I don't think Dad will get you a gun if you don't have trigger discipline. I know where the trigger is. What more is it than that? That's not. Izuku gave her a dumbfounded look. That's not what trigger discipline is. Is it when I punish the trigger for not shooting my bullets? No? I'll get it one day. Where's Dad? Eri asked, not that she didn't mind Izuku watching over her all day, but she wanted to know where Kai was. Dad and Mom went to the lab last night to check on something. Izuku answered. Check on what? Himiko asked. Dad wanted to cure Mom of something. Her infertility. Izuku gave the blonde an odd look. How did you know that? I kinda saw the binder when he was working on it at the lab yesterday. Yeah, it is that. Izuku nodded. What's infertility? Eri asked. It's a condition where people can't have kids. But Mom has us. Biological kids. Izuku replied. She can't pop out kids. Himiko added. Ah, don't say that about Mom. Izuku looked uncomfortable. Sorry. So Dad is helping Mom have kids? Eri asked. Yes. Izuku nodded. Maybe that's why they didn't come back last night. Himiko offered. Ah. Stop. Izuku didn't want to hear what she was implying. What? Are you telling me you don't think they are? Lalalalala. Izuku had covered his ears. As much as he wanted his parents together, there was no way he wanted to hear that. Oh, come on, you can't tell me it isn't a possibility. Not listening. Izuku didn't remove his hands from his ears. The back door opened to the house, and it was Kai. There you kids are. Dad. Eri chirped. Hey Dad. Izuku removed his hands from his ears. Hi Mr. Chisaki. Himiko waved. Where have you been? I stayed at the lab last night to do some work. Kai answered. Work? Himiko had a smug look at Izuku. Shut up. Izuku didn't want her to continue with what she was thinking. Yes, I was working on a project. A surprise for Mom. Eri asked. That and the degenerative metal cork disease. Can I get a knife? Eri asked. I don't think so. Kai did not want a 6-year-old running around with a knife. But Big Sis has one. I have 9. Himiko corrected. She has 9. Eri fixed her statement. How about we wait a few years before that? The man asked. Eri thought for a second. Okay. Is Mom going to be here for training today? Izuku asked. She will be here soon. Before that I have something I need to tell you kids. Is something wrong? The Emerald teen asked. No. Actually the opposite. Me and Rico are together. The 3 kids all said something at the same time. Like a normal mom and dad. Eri asked. About time. Izuku replied. You did it, didn't you? Himiko asked. Don't talk about Mom and Dad like that. Izuku responded to what Himiko said. They did what? Eri asked. Nothing. Izuku waved his arms frantically. They did something. Himiko had a smug look since she knew she was right, especially with Kai covering his red face in embarrassment. Stop it. Izuku felt uncomfortable with this topic. They're your parents too. Then that hit Himiko and her face turned red. You. She covered her own face now out of embarrassment. Don't touch Mom anymore. What? The voice of Rico got everyone's attention, her having just gotten there. Kai, what exactly did you tell them? All I said was that we were together now. Kai was as red as Rico's sweater. It was Himiko who said things. Izuku pointed at his blonde sister. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how gross it was. She hadn't removed her face from behind her hands. I'm confused. Eri had no idea what was bothering everyone. Over the next week things found a normal pace. Himiko and Izuku trained hard for the entrance exams. Eri talked Toshinori into making more caramel apples, and Kai and Rico fell into a good rhythm with their new relationship. It was a very good week for the Chisakis. Shoto, where are you going? Endeavor asked as he saw his son about to leave the house. I need to let someone know something. Shoto exited the house. He and his father were on slightly better terms, what with his father surprisingly being easier on him, and letting Shoto do things his own way, with some guidance. It was still rocky, but it was an improvement on what it was before. I will be back later. Endeavor watched the door close, not speaking till it was shut. Be safe, Shoto. It was now time for the entrance exams, and Izuku and Himiko were entering UA's grounds. Remember to not cut people, Izuku added. Without permission. I am sure if you explain your quirk and such if a situation calls for it, they will definitely be helpful. Imagine how many bonds I can make here. Himiko was in her own conversation, but she wasn't ignoring her brother. She just nodded in acknowledgement of his words. How many knives did you even bring? 4. She pulled out the 4 knives to count them. Surprised you didn't bring more. I don't want to rip my new outfit yet. Himiko pointed to her new signature look that she had made since joining the Chisakis. She hadn't gotten a mask like the other 2 kids, because she wanted to work on a way that it wouldn't hinder her quirk first. She had an oversized purple cardigan with a green trim to it, over a red dress shirt and skirt, along with black shoes and knee-high socks. She also adopted a green scarf that had one end hanging loosely over her right shoulder. I can't ruin this style. Chisaki. A monotone voice got the 2 Chisaki's attention, and Izuku saw his friendly rival from the recommendation exams. Todoroki. Izuku got happy and approached his rival before he wondered why he was there. Did he fail? Why are you here? I passed my final match. Shoto removed the thoughts of his failure from Izuku's mind. I wanted to just let you know I received my scores, and because of our match and the one after it, I am the #1 recommended student this year. That's awesome, man. Izuku held up his hand for a fist bump. Way to go. Hot and a badass. Himiko commented to herself. Chisaki, I respect you for what you did. Shoto still appreciated what Izuku did the week prior. But as my rival I know that you can and expect you to become the #1 student through the regular exams. Izuku nodded. Definitely. Don't worry here, man. I am going to give it my all the way to a rematch. As will I. Shoto gained a small grin. Let's make sure we both continue to give it our all. Shoto put his fist against Izuku's. Definitely. Izuku was definitely pumped for the exams now more than anything. The Kuga looked like he just saw a ghost. He had just arrived at UA's grounds to do the inferior people's exams, and saw a face he hasn't seen since well over a decade ago. Why was that quirkless loser here? No, it had to be a lookalike. No way he had anything close to what it takes to even spell UA, let alone contend for a spot there. He shook those thoughts and went over to the Ice and Fire teen who was leaving UA's grounds at that moment, after talking to the other kid. Hey, I suck. Bakugo said to get his attention. I'm beating these exams as the top person here, and then I am beating your ass. I don't care. Shoto walked past him. Don't disregard me, you shit. I only care for my rival. You are nowhere near his level. Shoto turned to give Bakugo a glare. Find someone else who actually cares. Bakugo was about to lose his shit. I'm going to prove that you, and your dumbest rival and all of these other insects are beneath me. Declare your dumb ideals to someone else. Shoto turned back around. Part of him couldn't believe that he was somewhat like that over a week ago. Bakugo scowled. He entered UA's building in a pissed-off mood. He was going to show these extras how beneath him they were. Thus concludes today's chapter. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe with post notifications, so you'd be notified when the next chapter releases. Until next time.